So I just want to come in and do a short video talking to you about fasting, blood glucose, and coffee enemas, and what those three things have to do with each other. So I recently did a 24-hour fast. If you're not familiar with fasting, it has been used throughout history as a health tool, as a spiritual tool. I'm a big proponent of the longer fast, particularly for women over 50. I believe there's a lot that can be healed in your health through fasting, particularly the gut microbiome. There's a lot of evidence, science-backed evidence, not just me talking about it. So you can follow Dr. Mindy Pelz has a lot of good research. She's written a book called Fasting. I forget, but Pelz is her last name. So I really encourage you to look at that. Not so much as a weight loss tool, but it is a fat burning tool, fasting, but it's almost like a natural reset for the body. And the body was made to rest and rest digestively too. So just something to focus in and think about. So I hadn't fasted in quite some time, and I put on some weight and just was at the end of my hormone cycle, and I knew I needed to fast. And ironically, I was getting some blood work done, and the only appointment I could get was at 2:30. So I fasted from about 6:30 at night all the way to 7, I think almost 8 o'clock. 7:30 is when I opened up my window. I had some wolfberry and wolfberry juice. If you're not familiar with it, it's a phenomenal anti-aging longevity tool, product. I don't want to say product, natural fruit that's grown in Nisha, China. It's what the Chinese athletes use. It's in the blue zone, meaning people who live 100 years or older. They usually have a quarter cup of these berries. One of the things that science has found is the berry, not only is it good with amino acids and mineral profile and just like the superfood, but it also repopulates the gut microbiome, helps to repopulate the gut microbiome by feeding these healthy bacteria, and particularly one strain that has been found with people with longevity, right? They live a long time. So I opened up my window with that. I had some ninja juice. I had been drinking water all day. And then I came home and I had a very protein-filled chili that my husband had made. And so it had beans, chili. A lot of times too, you want to, and I had a bone broth. I had made a bone broth popsicle. It's with Paleo Valley's bone broth, because bone broth too is going to go in and really help you not stop the fast, but go in and heal the gut lining and stuff. And that's really important after you fast as well. Probably should have done that first, even before my wolfberries. So I had that, and I went to sleep. But that same day, I got I can't show you because I have the sweatshirt on, but a blood glucose monitor. And I got it too because I wanted to get my blood drawn and also see, because when you get a blood test and they say, oh, your fasting blood glucose is such and such, it's a one moment in time that you're looking at versus having a blood glucose monitor. Because a lot of people are poo-poo against fasting because they feel like, oh, your blood glucose is going to get too low. No, mine stayed at 90 the majority of the day, and I felt pretty clear-headed. I wasn't too shaky. Again, my body may be more healthier at this point than most people's too, so I didn't struggle so much fasting, right? I wasn't struggling in my blood glucose, but I've tested myself too several months ago, and I had fasted once or twice during that time, and my monitor still, I was pretty natural. So what will happen when you're fasting, or even like when you go to bed at night and you have a longer fast, is when the body runs out of, say, calories, or, it'll go to your stored reserves, right? Your stored reserves. And depending on how much carbohydrates you have and stuff, it'll eat up the glycogen first. And once the glycogen's gone, then it'll go into your fat reserves. And that's why people who fast, particularly a fast called the monk fast, which is 36 hours. So you would fast all day, all night, again, and then eat in the morning, if that's the time frame you picked. And I've done that quite a few times too in my weight loss journey, not to lose weight, but just to help me maintain. And I've really liked that. I've liked the mental clarity I've gotten with that. And that was before I had gotten on my hormones and stuff like that. But there is a lot of benefits to that. But you have to weigh it with, your life, electrolytes and stuff too. I found fasting is not helpful for me when I have a lot of cortisol, stress hormone going on. So in our life, we have a wonderful son. He's autistic and he's going through puberty, and he has a lot of challenges right now, and it's just a hard season. And so if my cortisol is high, or I have stress at work, or anything like that, that's just like kind of compounding, then I find fasting is not the best for me to do. So should you use a glucose monitor if you're fasting? I don't know, but I do know that a glucose monitor can really help you see where you're at in terms of your insulin's spiking, right? It's not that our insulin's not going to spike, but we want to get our body so metabolically healthy that when we do eat, we can see the spike, but then we can come down to, and we're not at high levels a long time, or it's not taking our bodies a long time to come back to that, that baseline and stuff too. And there's a lot of good trainings out on that and stuff too. And so, research that and look into that. So glucose monitors last for about 2 weeks when you purchase one. The one that I'm using is called Stellos, Stelos, Stellos. I like it so. I like it that you see it, but it doesn't save your information, meaning, I mean, it'll tell you, okay, here's your average for the week, but every 24 hours, like, it's gone, and you can't screenshot. It's very, very interesting, like, right? So I guess it's a liability thing, or they're just studying me. It doesn't hurt. You don't feel it. It's not like this needle coming into you. It's just, what they're doing is they're measuring it in between, like, the dermis layer of your skin, like just the skin. It's not so much like you've got a needle in you or anything like that. All right, so back to coffee enemas and how they play into this conversation. So I'm a huge proponent of coffee enemas, and I have been since 2020, late 2021, where I started them and did 100 days in a row. And the interesting thing about this journey for me is I was first introduced to them when I was introduced to a Gerson about 26 years ago, more than probably almost 30 years ago. Gerson therapy when I was in chiropractic college. And I was like, oh, I've got to learn this. I've got to do this. But as I got older, I just felt, it's a cancer protocol, but it's got to be a preventative. Well, it's anti-aging, it's glutathione. So the reason I talk about coffee enemas right now is everybody's into glutathione and these patches that improves your glutathione and anti-aging and stuff like that. Well, coffee enemas increase the body's glutathione like through the roof, like 1,000 times, right? Just like one. just like one. That's why I truly believe that since I started doing coffee enemas, when I was exposed to like the hard COVID that came through um, that year, like all of these things, and I would get sick, like I could get myself healthy right away. Yes, I have a lot of natural health tools. I'm very grateful for them. But I do believe it was the coffee enemas that, because like my other family members, it wasn't the same, right? If something would go through the house, or if it felt like I was getting run down, I could stay healthy while everybody else was sick. So I really believe in that. But the mental clarity, how it helps to balance the sympathetic and parasympathetic, I really believe that this is such an amazing tool. It's been used for pain relief. I will wake up. So probably in the last month or so, I've been having a lot of pain issues. Again, I hadn't been fasting. I hadn't, got some of the new tools I have for pain, which is red light is one of them. But when I would go, just even the enema portion, my protocol for coffee enemas is I do hydrogen peroxide enema, meaning I'm not pouring hydrogen peroxide. It's just, anyway, it's food grade hydrogen peroxide added to water, filtered water, right? Warm water. And I'll do that flush too. And just that alone can flush out so much inflammation in my body. Like I'll wake up stiff in my hands, or like limping a little bit or something. And it's just amazing. And I've heard from healthcare practitioners and colleagues of mine for years how powerful enemas were. But again, I didn't know until I actually did this. But just one last thing I'll say about that too is for years and years and years, since I was a teen, I had horrific acne. I don't want to say horrific, not like but it was always here, always here. I had very bad skin. And I was told 20 years ago that it was probably parasites. Well, it wasn't until I started doing the coffee enema, particularly the hydrogen peroxide water enema first, where I actually saw them. Holy moly, right? I was like, oh my gosh, this is real. And getting them out of the body. And there's a big, huge connection between that and cancer and dysfunction in the body and all these things too. So again, why I love this. So how do all the three of these things come together? I feel so good doing that 24-hour fast, knowing that my blood sugars were stable and, doing all of that. I feel so good. So I got up early this morning. Just naturally, my body kind of woke me up and said, hey, because normally if I do fasting, I'll either do one before and then at the end of the day, like the beginning of the day and the end of the day, just to get that. But I had been pooping good yesterday, so I didn't do a coffee enema. But at 3 o'clock in the morning, my body's like, oh, we've got a little bit of inflammation. I was a little bloated. Did the coffee enema, and I just feel so good. Right even after just the water enema, I just feel so good. So my encouragement for you is you can do all the research in the world about these things, and you're going to see positive and negative depending on your Google search and what you normally search. All I can share is my experience. And I think until you experience it, and I'm not just talking about one bad experience, because I tried coffee enemas maybe a few years ago. I'm like, I don't like it, or because I didn't have the training. And I can give you some resources for good training, how to do it step by step. It's just awesome. And then again, Dr. Mindy Pelz, if you want to learn about fasting and how to fast well and what kind of fasting you need and to work out of that. And again, she has different books on that. And then, blood glucose monitoring, you're going to find a lot of things too on YouTube. And and research and stuff. And my experience, again, has just been with the Stellos. So I hope this has been helpful to you, and just try it. I think you'll like them.